Hello everyone. In my previous lecture, I discussed in detail the time before Anglo-Saxon period. In this lecture, I'll discuss in detail the Anglo-Saxon period which stretches from 449 till 1066. So I'll discuss in detail that where these Germanic tribes settled in Britain, what was their culture and tradition, and what language they spoke. I'll also discuss that what was their early religion and how they converted to Christianity. So keep watching and enjoy learning. Let's discuss in detail. Anglo-Saxon period. The Anglo-Saxon period began around 449, so that is the middle of 5th century, when Germanic tribes such as Angles, Saxon, Jute and Frisians. So these tribes, they invaded and they settled in different parts of Britain. But remember that these settlements did not happen in a day, but it took decades, right? So these tribes, the most famous ones, Anglo, Saxon and Jutes, but there was also Frisians. So they migrated from where? This is the place of their migration. That was Northern Europe, or we can also call it continental Europe. So from here they migrated, and these tribes collectively, Anglo, Saxon, Jute and Frisians, they are called Germanic tribes, and they invaded somewhere in 449, right? And then they settled in the eastern and southern coast of Britain. So you have to remember these some words which I bolded, right? Eastern and southern coast of Britain. So this is the place where they settled, right? Where they came from? They came from Northern Europe or continental Europe. And collectively these tribes are known as Germanic tribes. Now this invasion didn't happen all at once, but took place gradually over several decades. As I told, that this settlement and this invasion did not happen in a day, but it took decades. Resistance from Britons. There was some resistance from Britain, right, to retreat these Germanic tribes. But ultimately, the Britons were retreated, right, because they did not have force. As I discussed in my previous lecture, that before Anglo-Saxon, there were Roman soldiers in Britain. So the Roman withdrew their soldiers to protect the Roman Empire. So this place, what we call Britain, became vulnerable for foreign invasion. And thus Anglo-Saxon, they attacked and they invaded Britain. So there was some resistance from the Britain, right? Now the native Britons, possibly led by Christian commander named Arthur. So we do not know much about history, because there isn't like we can't say certainly there was Arthur, but probably the name of this commander who was a Christian one, his name was Arthur. So he led these Britons and fought several battles to defeat the land, to defend the land. Despite their efforts, they were eventually defeated and forced to retreat too. So they wanted to defend the Britain, okay? They wanted to retreat the Anglo-Saxon, but ultimately they were retreated. Retreated mean they moved back to escape. So these Britain, they escaped to the different parts of the Britain and somewhere else. For example, they retreated to Cornwall and Wales, right? This is western parts of Britain. They moved there, they escaped there because of the Anglo-Saxon. And they moved to Scotland, where Gaels from Ireland were also sitting, right? And they moved to Brittany, regions on the west coast of continental Europe. So they retreated to Brittany, they retreated to Scotland, and they retreated to Cornwall and Wales, right? Now, impact on the Celtic culture. Celtics are the people of Britain who were living on this land, right? Britain before the arrival of Anglo-Saxon. So in the southern and central Britain, so you have to focus on these bolded words. In the southern and central Britain, Celtic culture nearly disappeared, replaced by Anglo-Saxon tradition and language. So where they came, these Anglo-Saxon tribes in the southern part of Britain and the central part of the Britain, there existed a culture. And this culture was known as Celtic culture. This Celtic culture disappeared and was replaced by the tradition and language spoken by Anglo-Saxon. Now, over time, the Germanic tribes settled and began to organize themselves into confederation, laying the foundation for what became early England. So these Germanic tribes settled in different parts of Britain and they combined them, they united them. And after this unification, they gave them a name, right, that was England. And it became a confederation, union of the different parts of the Britain. So, what parts were there we will discuss on the coming slide. Now, the Anglo-Saxon, wait for a while, okay, the Anglo-Saxons heptarchy and the culture evaluations. After settling in Britain, the Germanic tribes gradually organized themselves into 7 kingdoms known as heptarchy or heptarchy. So what was heptarchy?